Welcome to Smart Branding, a podcast dedicated to branding, naming, and domain names. I'm Tatiana Bonneau, and with my guests, we try to help you create and grow strong, memorable, and meaningful brands online. I believe time is one of our most precious assets, and so I want to thank you in advance if you decide to spend the next 30 minutes with us. I promise to do my best to make those worth it. Let's go. So welcome to Julie Bishop. Julie has quite a diverse background. She started the first UK eco-friendly cleaning business before green was cool. And since 2011, she founded, she's running JobHop, an online platform to connect employees with great companies. Welcome and thank you for joining us, Julie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit of your background and what led to JobHop.
Well, it all started with my last business, really. So I had the environmentally friendly cleaning business. And while I was doing that, we were franchising. So we were franchising across the UK. And I was looking for a particular person to fill a role in the franchising side of the business. And I wasn't having any success. And so this was, way back years and years ago, before like social media was like really cool. And there was a platform before LinkedIn called Academy that I was part of, and I started looking at the profiles on there and I thought, well, this is quite cool. I can tap into these profiles, start chatting to these people and, start building a talent community of people that could possibly work for me. And that's where the whole idea come along. And I thought, well, perhaps there's a fun way of doing this where people who are looking for work can actually see more than a job description. They can look at the company, the culture. They can speak to people who work there, not just the employers and the hiring managers. So that's how the whole idea started. And then there was LinkedIn, and I want something different to LinkedIn, because LinkedIn was your business networking platform. Now, no, of course, it's a platform where recruiters hang out and they recruit, and candidates find employers on there. But I just wanted something a bit more fun. And then sort of around about 2010, I had created a platform which it was really sort of like a sideline, or what we call a side hustle, but it was for fun. And then somebody wanted to buy my business. So at the time, the environmentally responsible cleaning business and the franchises, I was approached, and I hadn't even thought about selling it. So I was approached and they wanted to buy it. And after lots and lots of discussions, and it took quite a few months, I then said, yeah, okay, I'm ready to sell. And that's when I thought, right, I need to concentrate on JobHop now. So, so since, as you say, 2011, really, the platform JobHop has been sort of my main core, my main business.
I love the way when literally the first thing when you described, even before launching it, when you was just solving your problem with finding people to work with, and you said that there must be a fun way of doing this, and you named the business JobHop, which is really funny, like it really communicates that. I love the way that kind of matched instantly. So tell me a little bit more about the name. At what point, because you were, like you said, you were solving your own problem and doing that as a side hustle. At what point did you actually name it that, and what was that process like?
Oh, right. Okay. So I had the name already back in 2010, and everybody at the time was saying to me, oh, you shouldn't call it JobHop because employers don't like people who job hop. And at the time, my reply to that was that perhaps people shouldn't be in jobs for life. And I don't foresee that for the future. And I really didn't foresee that. And as you know, the future is now here, and people do job hop strategically now. The sort of the lifespan of a job is 2 to 3 years. And to keep a really good employee, you do have to make sure the culture's great, the company's great, the training's great, the benefits great, and also that they have the room to move around within the organization, and whether that's to move sideways or to move up. So basically hopping within the organization. Otherwise, there are many more opportunities outside the organization where they can go to. So yeah, I did have a little bit of a sort of a challenge, really, sort of trying to get people to agree with me about the name initially. And then I also thought with the name JobHop that it was a fun name. And I also wanted to make sure that it looks fun. The platform looks fun. So that's how the space hopper come into it as well. And a lot of people why have you got a space hopper? The thing is, to me and to many other people that I speak to, and children and adults, they look back at the space hopper as something fun. And the space hopper also represents taking a leap of faith. So sometimes you may be stuck in a position, you may be working for an employer that doesn't fully appreciate you. So sometimes you need to take that leap. So that's why the hopper come into it as well. And the colour orange is a energetic colour, and it's a fun colour, and it's bold. You know, I think job hoppers are bold. So there's a lot of thought that went into all of it. And of course, it started off as a drawing. And then I had, this is the logo, not the plan of all behind what JobHop means. But the logo started off as a drawing. And the first drawings were awful. You know, it was me drawing myself. I was drawing people on space hoppers and I don't know. It was crazy drawings. But then eventually I got a designer, graphic designer. I said, look, this is my idea. What can you do? And it was so funny. She took it straight back to the basics. And if you look at the site now, it's just a very, very basic hopper, little space hopper, and orange, nothing on it. But it really goes. So, so that was the whole thinking behind it. But it's not just, I hadn't just thought, oh, that's a nice logo. Everything went into that planning of why I wanted that name, that logo, and what does it all mean? I hope that explains a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I mean, honestly, when it's quite interesting that like you were doing the eco-friendly cleaning like way before it was a trend and it was became a fashion. And then you had to like explain why do you feel job hopping is not just, it's not a bad thing, but like you see, and like you say, now it has become the thing. I mean, rarely somebody gets into a job, especially younger people, thinking, oh, I'm going to be here forever. It's like crazy. Like nobody thinks like that anymore. And it wasn't the case.
Absolutely. And also with employers, would you really want to take somebody on who's been somewhere else like for 21 years? Because I think, that particular person would be so institutionalized and stagnant. So to me, having somebody who is what we call a job hopper, they come into the organization fresh with ideas. They're well connected. They're ambitious. So to me, that I find personally, that would be a much better candidate. And jobs for life rarely exists now.
Yeah. I think, I mean, even already it's getting hard to stay in one sort of a lane of thing, one activity. People change even that, not just the company, but like completely change their focus. So
absolutely. Yeah, people pivot. So it's more, people more understand now that if you start off as an accountant, but halfway through you want to be in marketing, it's okay to pivot. Where before, I think people would stay in a particular industry because that's what you're supposed to do. You've trained in that for years. But now it's not so sort of frowned upon. You know, if you want to change your mind, you want to try something else. And I think, you know, good employers understand that to keep the good employees is to open many opportunities for them. And it's not just about, you know, working opportunities. Of course, training and development is great, but also in other areas, you know, allow employees to try something completely different. So it gives them the opportunity to find out about other departments and how other departments work, etc. So, and I do think many more employers are open to that now.
Yeah, and there's so many ways now to educate yourself, and so many different so that people can improve or completely change what they're doing if they find out that. I mean, I remember it was like really, really odd, even, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, like 15 years ago when I had my first business. It was an IT agency, and we got a copywriter. And she just used to, like, every time there was a designer meeting, I would see her, like, she was, you know, looking to like what's happening. And like, eventually she started giving ideas. And I was like, just, you know, we have the software, Photoshop at the time. Now there's even like a lot more opportunities in that, but just learn it, do it. And I'll give you a test project. And she ended up being a brilliant designer. Literally, she was the best designer that we had. And she continued her career after that in design. And she wasn't. So that sort of a thing, nowadays, it's even simpler. And I think, it's a really good takeaway for business owners to be open to that. Like, you're not going to lose that person if you give them an opportunity to be the best they can be, even if it's not exactly in whatever it is you hired them for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe that with job titles, that sometimes you're given a job title and you're expected just to do that job. But it would be brilliant if employees can try many different things within the organisation, because it really helps understanding. I mean, they may not want to. They may just want to do that particular job that they've been hired for. But as you say, with your person that was looking and pining to do a bit of designing, you've opened a new door for her. And that person's probably stayed a lot longer than they would have done because of what you've done for them.
Definitely. Yeah. And again, another positive way of looking at job hopping for employers. I think it's like almost it's a compliment to yourself if you are okay taking on people who you know are not going to stay at any cost. It's like they have to choose you day after day after day, which means that your company and your culture and everything has to be on top level, which, you know, why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And also, if you are an employer who may understand or understands that sometimes you might not be able to offer that employee the next position, but they will probably go somewhere else, but you keep the door open for them, because if you're a great company, one day they might want to come back. And when they come back, they'll have new ideas, new connections, and new input to the organisation. So it's about leaving the door open. Sometimes you have to realise that a particular employee may want to go further than what you can offer them. But always leave the door open for them.
Absolutely. And you've been doing that. It's crazy how quickly time goes, because when I was preparing and I was looking at how you launched in 2011, and I was like, oh, that's a couple of years. And I'm like, no, that's not a couple of years. that's a decade.
Yes.
So it's So that's been quite some time. How do you feel HR generally has changed? How the way people look for jobs, the way people get hired, the way like interviews go. How do you feel that has changed over those 10 years?
Well, first of all, job hopping is more acceptable, and it's nearly always trending on TikTok these days. People talking about job hopping, which is good. I do believe now that employers are really working hard towards improving their employer brands and making sure that their company culture is right, and understanding that healthy employees are only going to benefit their organizations more. So to do with physical health and mental health. So there's a lot of work going into that area from many employers rather. And of course, the pandemic has changed a lot with how employers recruit. So before the online interview, that was, not so common. And now there's, nothing wrong with doing an online interview. I'll come back to that in a minute, because there are risks around that HR have to be aware of. And then also with employers that recruiting locally isn't such a big deal anymore. They can recruit globally. Now, that is good and bad, because if you get a small local area who's always been able to recruit the locals, and now these locals can work remotely anywhere around the world, that local area is struggling to recruit. So, there are good and bad from this. And then going back to the online interviews, I don't know if you've heard about baiting and switching. So there is cases of hiring managers or recruiters having an interview with who they think they are having an interview with, who they're going to employ, but it's actually a stand-in. So somebody who's been paid to stand in and answer the questions.
Wow.
So because there's a lot of remote working going on, sometimes the employer never really gets to meet the person that they've hired. So HR really has to sort of take all that into consideration. And I think HR also needs to really step up their game on where people are working from home for long hours. I know there's hybrid working, but there are still many people working from home sort of every day. Making sure that their mental health is okay, making sure that they feel part of the organization, and making sure simple things that they're sitting correctly. Because a lot of people working from home could be slouching over their bed and working, and they haven't got the setup in that's going to help them have a healthy spine. Oh, and also physical exercise. They may be sitting all day, they're not commuting anymore, and just literally becoming unhealthy while they work. So there are lots of things to think about. So the pandemic has moved things on a lot for the good, but there's also the negatives as well.
I love you brought that up. I haven't actually even thought about that, because like everybody was like looking more at the positive. Well, I guess it was because there was the negative already deal with the pandemic. We were looking for the positive to sort of highlight, but look, now we can work from home and that can continue as a trend. And it was proved to many companies that were kind of not really sold on people working from home. They got the proof that, yes, people can work from home. But it's a great point you raised there, that you still have to take care of those people, even though they're not in the office? Like, do they have everything they need? Are they, even the fact that I find that with myself, when I work from home, you think you may work less, but actually the opposite happens, especially if you love your job. You find yourself working like crazy hours that you wouldn't have done in the office. Oops, I have books falling. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And also, I think, especially if you do love your work, which you'd hope that every person you employ absolutely loves their work, because they're going to be so much more productive. But then there's that point where instead of them commuting to work, they may just get out of bed and go straight to work at their desk. So, and then, if they are not doing anything else, they may think, I might just stay here and just carry on working. So, there is that concern that there's burnout, and also it's creating unhealthy workers.
Yeah, so that's a great point and a great takeaway for any business owner, that even if you don't see those people in the office, that's still your responsibility, or should be a concern at least, how is their physical and mental health at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, I do believe there are a lot of good, but there's, well, there are some bad. Some things like baiting and switching is bad. But the other things, I think HR needs to be more aware of. Absolutely.
Definitely. So where some of the changes over the past 10 years, and especially the last, let's say, I guess 2 or 3, we see a lot of artificial intelligence, that's kind of a digital acceleration across any fields. How has that affected HR, and how do you see affecting it in the future?
I believe AI will help a lot. So a lot of people think, we're going to be out of jobs now because of artificial intelligence. But I don't think that is the case. AI will take on a lot of the mundane jobs, and then allow HR employers, recruiters to be doing the more human stuff. So I don't believe AI will be literally taking over everything. I still believe that when you get to a point of interviews, that you still have to have that human connection. Of course, AI may be there to help qualify at the beginning, but again, we have to be careful with that, because you don't want to create bias AI, because AI is only an outcome of what is inputted by humans. So we do have to, I don't know whether you heard of the case with Amazon. That's quite a few years ago, but they were having AI do a lot of the work, and AI was literally delivering CVs which were not diverse at all. So you have to be aware of that. But if AI can help with the more mundane work, then definitely it would be great. And I think that is the case. Many employers are using that. You'll see everywhere, like chatbots. So when you go onto a career site, you'll have a little chatbot come up and you can talk to the chatbots, and it'll start qualifying you as you answer those questions. So all of that's good. Little chatbots for booking in dates, that's all great. There has been, I worked with an AI company called Web Spiders, and we were using a bot called Gecko. And what Gecko does, it takes the candidate through a journey. So the candidate actually speaks to the robot, the bot, and doesn't actually see anybody. So for some candidates, that would be quite off-putting, because they're not seeing anybody speak back to them. So it'll just come up on the screen, the interview questions, and that candidate in a set amount of time has to answer those questions. Now, The bots were very good at qualifying, and what it does, it works on eye pupils. If your eye pupils dilate or look surprised, or if you have sort of twitch going on, it will monitor that. If you look nervous, if you hesitate a lot, it will monitor that. So all of those are taken into consideration. Now, we did do a test. There was the Gecko bot, and also me as a recruiter doing it the, let's say, old-fashioned way. And we both the bots and myself, come up with the candidates, the same candidate that we wanted to put. Yeah. So the bot was very, very good, but the feedback from candidates was that they just felt a little bit nervous. There were a couple that were absolutely fine with it. They were absolutely fine talking to the screen, talking to no one. However, there were the others that said that they felt a bit uneasy, and it didn't feel natural. But I do believe going forward, people will start to find that as normal in many cases, because there are always going to be employers, companies looking for ways to limit the workload, and that is one of the ways. Now, what would happen then is, once the bot has selected the right candidate to go forward, then they should be invited to have proper human to human interaction. So that's why I do believe AI is there to help ever such a lot. But I do think that in the end, it still comes down to that human interaction between hiring manager, recruiter, employer, and candidates.
So yeah, it is more to simplify the work, but not completely replace that human connection. It's funny, I wasn't aware of that, and I can totally see, like, I don't know, even for us, like 10, 15 years ago, having meetings, like that online, that was weird. That was, awkward. And I mean, everybody was nervous, and you're not nervous going out talking to people. So I'm sure, like you said, most of the candidates were nervous, and it felt weird not talking to somebody. Not to mention that I'm sure those type of technologies, they can absolutely have some virtual, made up person talking instead of just a blank screen. And that would probably help. Absolutely. And as we go forward, that will be the case. When you look at the metaverse, the fact that we'll be able to put a headset on and the VR and actually be in a room with somebody, but not. So that's all quite exciting. And actually be able to see around a workplace. And, actually see where you'll be working without actually being in the building. So that's all exciting, and that's all to come. So, HR have got a lot to deal with. They've got lots of technology to learn. Yeah, because you're thinking about just, that's going to be fun. And then you think, so there you go. I mean, you're going to have all the mundane tasks removed, and you're going to have new ones. Yes, you're going to have to, because obviously it's going to be the HR's work to strategize and organize all that process, regardless of whether it's online or offline. So that's still a lot of work. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So totally different new interview experiences and workplace viewing experiences. So instead of like going onto YouTube to watch a video of the workplace, you'll be able to put on the VR set and be in the workplace. So so exciting stuff to come. Wonderful. Yeah, that's very exciting. So what type of companies, what type of people can you help with JobHop? So primarily we started off as digital. So we were looking at placing
or matching rather, companies and talent in the digital arena. So that would be, web developers, SEO, digital marketing, content creators, etc., etc. But as time's gone on, we've got more and more salespeople, store managers, so it has attracted many different types of people. So not just digital, but primarily because it was that fun place to go to network with employers. It was that digital area that we were concentrating on. But now there's, as I said, many different types. I mean, even we've got a veterinary college on there. So it's very sort of like across the mix, really.
And you work in the UK?
Yes,
primarily,
so it's just UK. So it's a UK platform. So again, when we started, it was all about keeping talent within the UK. And again, I mean, that's even harder now because with remote working, anyone can work anywhere in the world. So when we started, it was about keeping our people in the UK and how to be an attractive employer that they wouldn't want to go and work abroad somewhere. But now you can work abroad just from your dining room. So
it's becoming for employees, I guess it's more and more challenging. Yeah.
Yes, it's so much more challenging. Yeah. So I do think, that employers have to, and many do, but they do have to realise that to keep and attract or retain and attract great employees, then they have to do so much.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about the money.
Oh no, it's not. By far, I think more and more it's getting to be the case for everyone. And like you mentioned to me, people are a lot more aware of how important. I mean, how much time do you spend at work, and how important it is that you actually enjoy what you're doing and you feel appreciated and you feel cared for as well, and you feel you have some space to develop and grow within the company, which wasn't the case even not so long ago. It was like, I got a job, I'm happy.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Totally, definitely. And even, you look at, when we look at employer brand, that it used to be the case years and years and years ago that if you had a bad experience with an interview as a candidate, then you may just say to your family, oh God, that was awful. They weren't very nice. But now you have a bad interview experience, you'll tell everybody. You could go online and tell like thousands of people. You can go into a little group and tell thousands of people. And that is damaging for an employer brand. So
Absolutely.
Employers have to realise that it's not just about their employees that they've already got. It's about the way they talk to people online, even customers could be potential employees, or customers could know potential employees. So you don't want them thinking bad of your employer brand. So it's there's a lot for them to do, a lot for them to think about.
Yeah, and that's a nice kind of finish, I guess, if we bring it back to brand. You mentioned employer brand. That's something that because you have so often people go, oh, I have a logo, that's my brand, or I have a name, that's my brand. It's so much more. And I talk to different guests that I have about different aspects, but that's definitely one that should not at all be overlooked. The not just, it's everything. It's everywhere. Brand is everywhere, and people should be aware of it. So yeah, it's, as you mentioned, something that I haven't thought about. Not just the people that work for you, because obviously more than before nowadays as well. Like every person that works for you is in a way a continuation of your brand, with whatever they go, whatever they talk, however they talk about that brand, and even however they behave. Like people judge the brand based on that.
Yep.
But also, like what you just said, even people that just come for an interview and you may never see them again, that is still important.
Absolutely. So important. I'll never forget, years and years and years ago, this shows you how old I am. I went for a marketing job with a famous coffee brand, and I didn't get it, which I was like a bit upset. I think I know I wasn't experienced enough for what they wanted. However, I got a lovely letter. And this was the days before sort of like emails. I got a lovely, that's how old I am. I got a lovely letter from them and a big jar of coffee. And I was like, oh my God, aren't they lovely? One day I really want to work for them. So, it was just so, so nice. And I think more employers should be like that, sort of like realize that, having an interview with somebody, you still got to make sure that they go away, even if they don't get the job, that they go away and say good things about your company.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's a great way to end the interview. Thank you for making the time. Last thing, where can people reach you?
Oh, okay. So you can go to the website, which is jobhop.co.uk, or you can, I'm on social media, of course. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can just put in JobHop and you'll come across me. And if you wanted to email, you can just email me, Julie at jobhop.co.uk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You could write me a letter.
Yeah. No, as you were saying that you got that letter, I was thinking that's nice. The letters were nice.
Yeah.
I think the kids now won't even get the concept. I'm thinking now. I remember we used to have like pen pals, and I used to write to a girl in the US. And I think kids now, if you tell them like, you're going to write that and it's going to arrive in a week, and then they're going to respond.
Then it's like, when you wait for another week to see whether you get a letter back.
Yeah. I think that's
everything's so fast now.
Very, yeah. I mean, even phones, like the concept of the normal phones, not the mobile phones. I think they find that weird. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, normal phones.
Like a life before phones, like before mobile phones. It's just what you do.
Well, thank you.
No, I did that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm supposed to stop the recording. Yeah, thank you. I was like, we stopped the recording. Let's chat a bit about kids. No, stop. And now.
No.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Smart Branding Podcast. Feel free to visit smartbranding.com for more information and reach out if you have any suggestions, questions, ideas, or just want to learn more about how a good domain name strategy can help you build a strong and successful brand. See you next time.